Welcome to Drawing Conclusions. Today we're going to be starting our series where we talk about iconic movie characters and what makes them iconic, what makes them work. And we're going to be starting off by talking about the monster from the Alien movie series and why this monster is so enduringly successful and scary. So Josh, why don't you tell me a little bit about the first time that you saw an Alien movie and what your impressions were of the alien monster?
Well, I guess my first impression was like, holy crap! What is that? Watching these aliens actually was the one I saw first. Watching that through my fingers on video, the monsters were scary and beautiful. Going back to like the original 1979 picture, I'm seeing that one second. Much like aliens, you don't really see the monster all at once. It's introduced in pieces, hidden in darkness and at certain camera angles, certain lighting, and you'd only catch glimpses here and there. Even in the end of the original Alien movie, you really only got a great look at it from like the waist up. And there were times you saw it standing and stuff, but it was always, backlit or, some way to make it look not quite so human. And I think they did this for a lot of the same reasons, like, for instance, in Jaws, you don't see the shark until like the last act of the show. Mostly because, on closer inspection of the monster, it would look like what it is, a guy in a suit.
Yeah, and so I think what's interesting about that, though, is I think with both Jaws and with the movies in the Alien franchise, the first two at least, where they are more subtle with the monster and the way that they present it in the movie, is that it as actually, they stumble upon something that's super effective. Like,
Yes.
It may have been done for practical reasons because effects-wise, they could not make it look like something other than a rubber shark or a guy in a rubber suit.
Yeah.
But then it actually adds to the terrifying,
Yes.
factor of the movies to have it like that, to have it in darkness, to have it, like with the monster you're saying, like it's, covered in like KY jelly to make it look slimy and stuff,
Yeah.
and make it less like look like a rubber, look less like a rubber suit, or to just see pieces of it, to have the close up on the
Yes.
face or whatever, or the backlit, or all those things somehow make it more terrifying too, even though they're
Right.
done for a really practical reason.
And keeping the mystery as long as they did in those older films was really effective. Shrouding it in just enough darkness that you could make out some shapes and see what they wanted you to see.
Right.
And that really played to great effect with Alien. And for me, drawing it has always been a super fun thing, and it's just like one of my favorite creatures to draw, favorite characters to draw. I mean, there's so many fun shapes and the body lines. The monster's tall and lanky and slender and graceful, frankly. And I really love to exaggerate and play with the long, lanky nature of the creature.
Yeah.
And the mysterious look of the head that has no eyes that you can see. And you can only just sort of make out the skull and the translucent head, and the extra mouth, the six-fingered hands. It's just such a cool monster all the way around. And like every sketchbook that I've had in my recent memory has this monster, and going back years and years. I mean, all the way back into high school.
Which is not your recent memory, by the way, just so everyone knows. High school wasn't that recent.
No, it wasn't.
So even in your far distant memory, you have been drawing this monster in every sketchbook.
Right. I really enjoy the original monster created by H.R. Giger because it's both grotesque and beautiful. Most movie monsters are trying to horrify and scare you and are typically just grotesque. They're just like, bleh, look how gross I am. Alien is different. It, especially the original one. There is something beautiful and just unnaturally awe-inspiring about this, grisly monster. I mean, all the way around, from like all its stages. You got the face hugger in the egg jumping out and just looks really awful. And in the original movie, if you freeze it just right, you can actually see the tube penetrate John Hurt's helmet's faceplate. It's just like a snap of a finger, and you have to catch it just right, less than a second. And so it's disturbing in a lot of ways. And then it goes going on to the chest burster, which still is one of my favorite scenes. I mean, it's horrifying, but it's so well done.
Yeah.
And the actors are so invested. And of course, Ridley Scott, if you know anything about it, he doesn't tell the actors and actresses exactly what's going to happen, and it works.
Yeah. But I think one of the things that makes the monster scary too, besides the things that we've talked about so far, but is this thing that you touched on where it goes through these different phases of development, and that one of those phases is it growing inside of a human being.
Right.
Right. I mean, like this idea that this thing is inside of you, and then it's at some point, it's gonna bust out of you and kill you, right? Like like a parasite, like that you could have some kind of little bug or something that gets inside you and grows real big and then busts out of your chest, and then it grows in this really rapid way into this
monstrous big
huge
creature.
monster.
Right.
But I also think when you're talking about like how it's both beautiful and grotesque, and I think there's something to that. Like, I don't know if it's something that's just like in you, or it was something that was inspired in you by the work of guys like Giger, but that a lot of times when you're creating monster designs, that your work is also grotesque and scary, but somehow beautiful too. There's something kind of elegant about your designs, and something kind of enchanting and entrancing about them. And somehow that makes it scarier. Like if a monster is just gross and is just gross to look at, it's not as scary. If there's some form of beauty to it that kind of draws you in, that's more terrifying. Like this idea, like you're saying, like that's awe-inspiring, and that it could almost be like, there's some form of like attraction to it, not like a sexual attraction, but you know what I'm saying, like that it kind of like that pull, that's so much scarier, because then it's and I think it's more realistic in terms of kind of some of the scary demons that we actually encounter in real life, right? Like they're not real monsters, but there are people maybe who are like that, who are both like really charming and good looking and stuff, but then on the inside they're kind of terrible. So I think it maybe reflects the reality of the kind of really scary things that we run into in our actual life, to have a monster like that.
Right.
So that pretty much sums it up for this edition of Drawing Conclusions. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and comment and share this video with your friends, and please subscribe. Thanks.